In Philadelphia, on July 4th, 1776, the colonies declared their independence from Great Britain. Not 5 days later, young John Erwin from Tinicum joined George Washington's army as a patriot. John Erwin was the son of Arthur Erwin. They came here in 1768 from Ireland. Arthur was a very wealthy man, and the first thing he did when he came to this area is he bought over 2,000 acres of land in Upper Bucks. Arthur became first a captain and later a colonel of the Bucks County Militia, but John, at age 20, enlisted in the Flying Camp, which is a mobile unit created by George Washington to terrorize the British Army. They moved around, they protected different garrisons, and immediately they went to Perth Amboy, where all the Continental Army was being assembled in anticipation of the British fleet, 35 ships arriving. John fought well at the Battle of Long Island in August, and he fought so well that his commander decided to make him a first lieutenant. That very day, the troops were sent to Fort Washington for one of the most disastrous battles of the entire war. Over 2,000 Continental soldiers were captured, among them John Erwin. It was a traumatic experience for these young men in their first or second battle, but what was to come was even more traumatic. They were marched to New York, hundreds of them. They were kept in buildings with no food, no clothing, no bedding, but it got worse. The British had brought some decommissioned warships into the bay just outside of Brooklyn, and these became the prison ships where the Continental Army prisoners were kept. Some of these ships, like the HMS New Jersey, were called the Afloat, and there were at any given time between 400 and 1,200 soldiers kept aboard these ships. All of the portholes were boarded up, and they drilled holes into the walls of the ship so that they had some air to breathe. They had barely any food. They had no bedding. There were terrible conditions. Every disease you can think of, from dysentery to smallpox, would spread aboard these ships. Some, like John, were on board these ships for over 4 years. And it wasn't until 1781 that the process was formalized, and you start to see the paroles being put forth and the prisoner exchanges happening. On February 18th of 1781, John Erwin was finally brought to Elizabethtown and exchanged for other prisoners and was able to return home. He was emaciated, the skin hung off his bones. He had been starved, he had suffered from dysentery, and it was truly a sad homecoming for him and his family. Almost a year to the day later, on February 17th in 1782, he died and was buried in the family burial ground.